Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Can you believe it's March already? March 1st today. I'll tell you what, where I live though, it was beautiful. I'm in the Midwest, and so winter kind of sucks, and I hate winter. I don't know about you guys, but I will punch cold weather in the face. I'm not a violent man, but I will punch cold weather in the face, I swear. But damn, it was almost 70 degrees. Got to walk my pet peeve. It's good times here. Now, there's a lot to talk about here this Sunday. Now, I like crypto media outlet You Today, which is what's on your screen here right now. But I got to tell you, I was a little disappointed with this article here. Now, the headline is innocuous enough. It's fine. It's titled, 500 million XRP moved. Here's why it's likely to turn into selling pressure. Now, a part of the reason that this article is interesting to me, it's because it's like clockwork. It's just that time of the month again. On the first of every month, it's time to write articles about Ripple's release of their escrow, XRP holdings. And it's also weird to me. So there's a couple reasons I'm disappointed. I'll tell you one of them now before digging in any further here. They wrote 500 million XRP moved. Well, there was actually 1 billion that came out of escrow, and they're counting half of it. And I understand part of the confusion. In February, Ripple started, that was the first month ever, where instead of having one escrow transaction of 1 billion, they had two, each worth 500 million. I don't know the reasons that they decided to do that, but moving forward, that's just what it's going to look like here. And so they counted one of them here and then wrote an article as if that's all that happened with escrow. And then they had other stuff that I don't like, so I'm going to run through it. Then there's another piece on this topic from Daily Hodl titled, Ripple releases 1 billion XRP worth $226 million over the counter. Wallet remains highly active. Now, that's a much more reasonable interpretation of what's going on here, but I still think it's kind of silly every single freaking month. Is there anybody that doesn't know this yet? Well, okay, I guess there's always new people coming aboard, so the answer technically is yes, but I think the vast majority of us get it. XRP's coming out of escrow. It's the first of the month. Yay. So anyway, I'm going to run through that. I've also got this story I want to share with you from Cointelegraph. Hester Pierce's last effort at SEC as Wilshire Phoenix BTC ETF is rejected. And Hester Pierce, with the SEC, she is rather pro-crypto, despite having proclaimed to not own any herself. I don't know if it's just because that would appear to be something of a conflict of interest, given that she's kind of regulating cryptocurrencies effectively. But interesting piece there. And I'm also going to share with you just a little part of an XRP community member blog, because there was an XRP meetup, and I just want to share a little bit of that with you. But before going any further here, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you're a fan of Ripple and XRP, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel, because why the hell not? It don't cost nothing. You know you ain't got nothing better to do. Yeah, hang out with Moon Lambo. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. So we're going to start with the one from You Today here. And in the beginning, they just start citing that there's 500 million XRP released. Let's jump past that because there's actually 1 billion, but that's not counted in this article. Nonetheless, that's not why I have major beef with it. I'm going to share that with you now. Well, just a moment anyway. In the fourth quarter of 2019, Ripple sold the least amount of XRP in recent years, alleviating some pressure off of the XRP market. And then they write this. The official Q4 report read, quote, Ripple continued the pause of programmatic sales, focusing solely on our over-the-counter sales with a few strategic partners who are building XRP utility and liquidity in strategic regions, including EMEA and Asia. And then the piece continues here. The XRP that Ripple obtains from the escrow wallet can be sold in the exchange market, distributed to its partners, or held for long periods of time. The market data shows that there is no clear correlation between the movement of XRP out of the escrow wallet and the price trend of the cryptocurrency. Now, that's kind of significant here. But then it continues here, and so check this part out. For instance, Ripple unlocked 500 million XRP on February 1st, yet from February 1st to February 8th, within a span of a week, the price of XRP rose by about 18%. It indicates that Ripple had not sold large amounts of XRP after the escrow was released. That's what I take issue with. It does not indicate that has nothing to do with it. And it's funny because on the top, it's like they are kind of hanging on to reality there by writing that market data shows that there is no clear correlation between the movement of XRP out of the escrow wallet and the price trend of the cryptocurrency. So I was like, yay, accurate. I like you today, because you're looking at facts. But then to state that it indicates that Ripple had not sold large amounts of XRP after the escrow was released. No, it absolutely has nothing to do with that. Because, again, the data shows that whether they sell substantially more than they had... Look, consider this. Think about the whole bull run that we had December 2017 into January 2018. They were selling way more XRP back then, and the price still went from about 20 cents to almost $4. So, look, whatever they were selling, whatever they have sold over the history of this, they've always made sure that it's a percentage of volume, and it's never been a problem. So, no, it actually does not indicate. So that is factually incorrect here. And then they continue, it is entirely possible that the price of XRP simply increased because Bitcoin rallied from $8,000 to $10,500, but the escrow movement indicated minimal effect on the price of XRP. Yeah, it's not even measurable. I mean, technically you could say that every sale of XRP impacts it, and true. But, just like you can't really in any meaningful way measure the effect of somebody selling quite literally one XRP to somebody else, the percentage of sales of Ripple's XRP, you can't even in any sort of meaningful way be certain that you can't track it, and even if you think you could, it would just be faulty data from my perspective. Nobody's even cited that I've ever seen claiming that they can see that exactly when Ripple sold something and then XRP flooded the market and this and that. That's a bunch of silliness. And plus, it doesn't, just because XRP does sell, I'm sorry, let me back up. Just because Ripple does sell some XRP, it doesn't mean that it all instantly floods exchanges. That's not the case at all, really. In fact, frequently, especially if there are sweetheart deals, there are stipulations that XRP can't even be sold. It just kind of has to be held, especially, and it makes sense. Think, if you're a liquidity provider, why are you just going to flood the market? You're in the business of making money on the buying and selling of XRP for the purpose of on-demand liquidity. So why would you even do that anyway? It makes no damn sense. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the next piece here now. And this is from XRP Twin, a XRP community member who tagged me along with a bunch of others in the XRP community. So thank you very much, XRP Twin, for tagging me. I do appreciate this. And I don't have time to run through this whole thing because it would take up too much time, but I do want to encourage you to check out this blog by XRP Twin, who is at Ferdi, Ferdi. And I'm just going to highlight just a little part of it here. But this is about their XRP meetup in the Netherlands. And it is kind of cool to think, wherever you are listening to Moon Lambo here, whatever country you're in, just recognize that what's happening here with XRP is truly global here. And there are meetups going on the world over. And I think since I live in the Midwest here in the United States, it would be nice if there was one closer to where I live. I don't know, maybe I should put one together. I'm going to think about that. That sounds like work. But anyway, I wanted to cover this because I think this is the part that I wanted to cite here. So when everybody got together, I think this was the start. I think what he wrote is this is the start. I mean, there's a bunch of pictures too, which is kind of cool to look at here. But my fellow XRP YouTuber, Crypto Eddie, she actually, she wasn't there, but she was live streaming during the event, and you can see that she's blown up here on the screen. They took a picture of it here, which I think is the coolest thing on the planet. So she came in and talked a bit here, and and so here's a picture of some of the crowd right here. So your fellow XRP community members actually getting together because we all have that genuine of an interest here. Whatever it is that draws us in, and that's why I look, to me, it's fun because I've got skin in the game, so I understand part of why I'm interested in it, but for some reason, this is just something that just grabbed me, and like I've said in the past, when something in life grabs you in that way, you just kind of got to run with it, and that's why I ended up starting a YouTube channel. For whatever reason, I'm just that interested in it, and when something like that grabs you, because it only happens for most people only so many times in their life, I say go for it, just whatever it is. As long as it's not going to hurt people. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think that's cool. But anyway, if you have some time, go ahead and check out this blog. It's really well written. It's cool to get perspective from others about what's going on in the world of XRP. All right, into the last piece now from Cointelegraph. Hester Pierce's last effort at SEC as Wilshire Phoenix BTC ETF is rejected. Securities and Exchange Commissioner Hester Pierce has published a dissenting statement in response to the Commission's rejection of Wilshire Phoenix's Bitcoin exchange-traded fund application. In her statement, Pierce slams the SEC for its biased treatment of Bitcoin-related products with the passion of a quote, Bitcoin maximalist. Given that the commissioner's term expires in a little over 3 months, at the beginning of June 5th, it raises a question. Could Pierce be positioning herself for a life after the SEC? In her latest statement, Commissioner Pierce claims the SEC's handling of Bitcoin-related products is inconsistent with Section 6B5 of the Exchange Act, which stipulates requirements for an exchange where the asset will be traded. It needs to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts and practices and to protect investors and the public interest, but doesn't have such requirements for the asset itself. And here's a quote. As I explained in the Winklevoss dissent, this provision requires the Commission to look to the rules of the exchange seeking to list the product, not the attributes of the assets or markets underlying the product to be traded. And there's a clear distinction there, right? So I see the point that she's making here. And then it continues. Pierce surmises that based on the ever-shifting standards that the SEC applies to the Bitcoin products, no filing will ever get approved. Furthermore, she believes that this attitude, instead of protecting retail investors, deprives investors of the ability to access Bitcoin in markets within our regulatory framework. In addition, the commissioner states that was not a single pre-Bitcoin case. There was not a single pre-Bitcoin case where the SEC analyzed whether the volumes were significant when compared to the underlying commodity markets. And she concluded, quote, in at least one case, the commission approved a rule change to list shares of a product referencing a futures market that, at the time of approval, had no trading whatsoever. And, this kind of makes me think about some other things that Hester had said in the past. And she was pretty blunt here, and I could only imagine, I don't know if this is the case, but I just kind of imagine that perhaps others in the SEC, little co-workers, if you will, maybe not the regulatory ones in charge of regulation on this, maybe not so happy with her, because she cited that publicly, very publicly, that it's her opinion that part of the reason that regulatory clarity is not really coming from the SEC is that individuals in charge of this are worried that once they provide whatever they think in theory would be the best, the most reasonable, ideal clarity, from a regulatory perspective, that if things go wrong, it's their necks. She said that pretty clearly, and of course I'm paraphrasing here, but she made no bones about it. She thinks that it's people covering their own butts, basically. And so, now she's citing here that it's like, they're moving the goalposts again, essentially. And so if something doesn't change, I don't know. Maybe you do just need new people in there. I don't know. I don't know the inside. I haven't researched it personally myself, so I don't have a strong opinion on that. I'm just sharing with you what she has said, but it's interesting to track nonetheless. But that's it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!